Emmanuelle Déchellette, I'm really honored that you are able to take your time to participate here in this lecture, or to give a lecture here. I met you a year ago at the Tallinn Architecture Biennale. I followed a little bit what you do, and I thought you were interesting because you have a specific research in ecological architecture with and for you it's very important to produce architecture and to produce spatial qualities and to produce not just to use these new technologies, but really to deal in the terms of architecture with it. And this relation between experimental part and testing in an urban context, I think this was quite interesting, and this is well quite playful. And that's why I thought it's quite important to show as well that it's not just about using these technologies and trying out something. It's much more important to experiment and to let's say with the hands-on experimental way. Probably we'll discuss later a little bit more about this, what this at the end means. Your office is formed by you and your brother, Philibert Déchellette, and you two are really running an interesting research. It's because I think I'm talking more about research because you don't know all the things you're doing, or probably you know what you're doing, but still you need always to prove that you are able to do this and so on. It's a thing we need to discuss probably later on, how we do this or how we work in that way. And that's why I think it's super interesting to follow you and your work. And I'm really happy that you are here. I will hand over the word to you. I'm looking forward to your lecture.
But thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here and to be invited by you, Daniel. So I share my screen.
Yep.
Okay. Up. Okay. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay, so I will share with you today our question and our observation that we noticed during the site feedbacks of two projects that we made in Paris with Rammed Earth. So I will try to evoke some question that's are questioning me was during the process, but also still today, like how we can link, how we can create a contemporary writing, and with this new or old ancient techniques, new bio-based material, but also how we can find the right balance between the use of the relation with craftsmanship and the use of industrial processes. And also I will also try to talk about this political aspect of those material, how it have to be sustained by politics to really make a change, and also that it is not only about replacing concrete. It's not only about searching for new material, as you said before, Daniel, but also about writing a new way of doing architecture, create some new paradigms. So I will try to talk a little bit of this, but I will present two different projects. So to present ourselves very quickly, so we are a Paris-based office. We share this office with other architects, and we are so associate my brother and I since 7 years now. So the first project, so we were one of our first project. We were very lucky to have this this project. So it's a house slash it's a house atelier for an artist, and she was very happy when we talked to her about these techniques, the raw earth, because she's like an artist and she work around the forest theme. Like she also defend forests through arts, and so it was evocator for her. So it was a great client because she really supports this experiment, like financially, but also like the it needs a kind of brave act because it's like a first one in a house in Paris with these techniques. And so one of the first question that we go through with my brother was how we can create, how we can introduce the renders in a Parisian context, and how we kind of escape from this common imaginary that renders is for country farm or African huts, or and how we can write a contemporary and urban writing. So we first we kind of play with this scale of the facade. Like traditionally worked with rammed earth is more very small opening and a lot of mass. And here we have very contemporary opening, and so we really work with the engineer to find this this size of all this three structural vertical elements that have to be still quite thick, but still as much thin as we can, because it's almost the only light contribution of this site. So we wanted to maximize the lights. But we also we also decided to work with this combination of metal and renders. So for different reasons. One of the first reason was how we integrate our building in this Parisian context, and we are like surrounded by this typical zinc roof that we can see a little bit there. But the other this choice was also made because of these three. We decide to use metal lintels to keep this very monolithic facade type of the earth, to really like the earth is the only sensible evocation. And so we work with the metal, but we will see it a little bit later. But also this combination of those two materials really creates something quite interesting and quite new in a way. Like it's really two opposite. I mean, they are kind of antinomic material. Like we have one who is like ancestral, very thick, very heavy and granulated, and the other one is from industrial era, like super thin, super bright. So it creates like a contrast very strong. So to come back to the site, so we had this very, very long site with this quite almost only light contribution from the street. So we are in the north of Paris in a very small streets. And we had this kind of very cool program who was like house, but also an atelier, and also a little bit like residence, like other artists can come and work and sleep there. More you go up, more it's private. But I'm not going to talk much about the interior, but to have this light contribution, we work with an internal lights openings who keep the lights going in the middle of the building. And so we have this kind of symbolism of this tree crossing the building. So for example, here in each level, we have this connotation of this form of the tree. So here, for example, we have on the floor an incrustation, and on the ceiling we have this light opening. In the atelier, we have this artificial light and also an incrustation in the floor. Very quickly, the inside were made with material who evoke this facade. So we also have this detail with metal inside, but this is not the subject today. But the only thing I wanted to talk to you about anyway in this project, who really make this project kind of not ordinary, is this carry, this like we really try to create some spaces where you can use the wall it. So for example, we work with a painter on the ground floor, and he make like a big fresco. For example, here our idea was to create some inspiration from Matisse, La joie de vivre, the joy of living. And it's just to show how sobriety doesn't necessarily neutrality. Like you can try to find kind of poetry and well, this is and magic with not much. So, for example, here this fresco react from lights. Like in the night, it's not at all like the same. You don't see the same stuff. And on the floor, we have also some granulated who show the light. I heard that in Germany they do like bicycle lines with this material, so I think it's quite clever because it's the sunlight charge on the day, and then so anyway, but all the subject, like we work with so many craftsmen with great knowledge and have this all this design around the forest, like for example, this library with this tree, sometimes like a snake on the wall. So yeah, how we can also, because I think like in general, like society, we need to find a bit more ethical, but also a little bit more poetry too, and how we can combine those two. But to come back to the construction of this house, so everything is made in wood, and the facade is of course in renders. In this project, the facade is self-supporting, so it doesn't support the wooden floor, but it's support itself. It didn't make sense in this project to support the wooden floor because we had this very long side, so the wooden floor support in the other side. In this project, everything was made by hand with no machine. Well, not with those tools that you see here, but with bigger tools. But we kind of struggled to find a craftsman for this project. This project was already started 6 years ago, and we struggled to find a craftsman. So we had to find one in Grenoble. That is the region in France where these techniques of ramed earth is the more traditional. So it was like almost only one guy and two other, but only two who were raming. So here you can see the beginning of the facade. So you can see that we have this base who is in concrete, because like we have a very famous sentence from how can I say it, raw earth lovers, who say like to work with earth, it's to have good boots and good hats. So it's very two big principle in rainders, to always have like a basement to avoid the humidity going to protect from the humidity, and also have some little protection in every horizontal surface, as we can see it later. So here we can see the first lintel, and to fix the first lintel, we had a line of lime. But then this line was a little bit scratching, and we put some earth again. So at the end, you don't really see it. So this facade was 100% of earth, like no mix. We used at the beginning, we wanted to use the Parisian earth from the ground floor, from the subway, like because of the renovation of the big Paris, like they are creating new big tubes lines. So we wanted to use this earth, but it was not, and I think it's still not available really. Like still need to be more tested, and it was the price of all the experiment and the test was a bit too much for this size of project. So we go with the earth from 1 hour north from Paris, from Beauvais. So here you can see those metal lintels. So it's like kind of a L shape, and inside of them you have like intermediate triangles to grip the earth. But this in this project, what's interesting is like these lintels have a double functions, because they grip the earth. They of course support the weight of the on top of the window, but they also they fix the wooden floor with the facade. So here you can see the principle. So you have we have 1, 2, and a third one here. This one is a little bit different shape, but it's like more a T. But anyway, so yes. So at the beginning, as you can see here, we were supposed to use prefabricated block, but we didn't, and I will explain you a bit later why. So here, yes, the metal lintel. So where we fixed the wooden floor. And here you can see the process. So it was a very long process for this one because it was made by hand on site. So the process is like almost 2 months per level. Like it means that you need 1 month per level to frame and ramed and unframed, and 1 month to let it dry. And then again and again. So that's why this facade took us, not me, but the team, 6 months in total. Here you can see the level up and the whole facade. And here you can see in the beginning we had a small struts that is a little bit with lime, because to avoid the water flow from here. I don't know if do you see my mouse? Or? Yeah.
Yes, we see it. Yes, we see it.
Okay, okay. So to avoid this, the water flow who can jump from here. Okay. So of course, always protect during all the process. And then, so here we are in urban context, in a very small street, we are not that much exposed to the wind. So we had this very, very kind of tight hats. So here we have a bit longer one, like 10, 11 centimeter, and those one are around 5 to maybe 7. I think more 5 in. Okay. So everything was fixed very kind of easily, because like if you fix stuff in the middle of the, at least 15, 20 centimeter from the surface, it's like super rigid, and it cannot fragilize the wall, and you fix stuff in it exactly the same way, the same kind of screw that in concrete. So yeah, that's one of the thing why we didn't use the prefabricated block. It's because all on this ground floor we had this electrical reservation. It was a bit too complicated for the craftsman to had this puzzle very well done with all the reservation and stuff. Here, so just to show you some problem that we had during the site. So here we had someone who tagged the facade. So just as you understood, it was super easy to get rid of it, because it was just some glass paper, a little bit like this, and then you can put some earth again on it. The only thing that can be a bit shame is that sometimes you can see, like here it's kind of well done, but sometimes you can see a bit like a patch, like you can see that it's not the original struts. Here, another thing that we had to deal with, and how we learn more and more, but the control office asked us to put this structural metal beams between the earthen facade and the internal facade. And one of them, because there is two, one of them was very slightly going in, not completely straight, and going through the facade. So as you can see, the water can go there and erodes the facade. So to avoid this, we had to add this very cute little hat. So now we also understood those kind of thing, and try to avoid this kind of little adjustment. But as you can see, it's very easy to re-put some earth, and that's. The other thing who was quite interesting to learn in this project too, regarding like this technical process of earth, it was to really always have in mind the prevailing winds and the sun path. Like for example here, like as you can see, we have like a terrace, and the prevailing winds comes from here. So now we can see that the rain goes more on this corner. And to explain you a little bit, here on the terrace, because we always need these boots, we had this here 100% concrete, but in a very, very thin, as you can see here. Like it's not all the wall, it's just a thin parts. But why we did it that high? It's because at the end we had a bench, in a wooden bench. But as you can see now, I mean, we can't see because it's the other way, but all the wind is going, jumping from the bench and going up here, and this is not high enough. So in those two ones, it doesn't matter because it's dry very quickly. But in the other one, in this corner, who dry less quickly, because it's the most where all the wind and the rain goes. So it's make more it takes more time to dry, and there is sun, so you can see like a little bit of moist, little bit. So it doesn't matter at all for the structural wall, but it's like not very healthy for it. So we kind of crush a little bit of earth, and we level up this concrete surface from like 5 millimeter, 5 centimeter, centimeter. So what did we learn on this project? It's how much using this material is a new way of understanding and drawing architecture. So it's much more sense to draw some simple and regular geometry and avoid interaction with other materials and structural elements, to avoid this kind of fragility with the water, and also work more, think more thickness and low slenderness, and with the water, but slow slenderness it's questionable, but and the water, like observe the water flow always, like during the sites. I mean, nothing was specially complicated to work with earth, but it's true that it's very like intuitive, like very always observe the water flow, because the earth react very quickly, so you can very quickly also rearrange was not good. Protect through the whole process, observe the prevailing winds and observe the sun pass, of course. And this important sentence of good boots and good hats. For example, now I'm working on a project a bit farther, still in the Grand Paris, but a bit farther from the traditional Paris. And for this one, the earth will support the wooden floor. But we don't have this we are in a peri-urban context, so we don't have neighbors, so it's wall free, and so these walls will be thicker in the base and thinner on top. And for I show you just this project quickly, but it's just to see how much now we start to draw the facade where we really resonate. Like for example, here we only use like super regular vertical elements, structural elements, and we don't have any interaction, not much. So it's very similar and easy volume. But then we also make a second project, who was building in Grand Paris aussi, also. And one of the best thing of this project is that this project is social housing, so it really means something to arrive to put this material not only with rich client, but also with public demand. So as you can see on this facade, it's a more economical facade. So you can see that the window is more rational, and you can also see that the ground floor is all in stone. Sorry. And why did we did this stone base? Because of what you saw earlier, like for all the electric, to avoid this electric reservation stuff, and to avoid this problematics of urban degradation. Like it's not at all the same context. The first project was in a very small street with only private house, and here it's on a big marketplace, so much more people who go behind it. So it was more protecting too, and it also permits us to use prefabricated blocks, because this was not the same project. It was a public, and we had this time obligation. And as I explained you earlier, like in the first project, we made 6 months to do the facade, and here we are a bit more high because we have one more level than the first one. And the facade was made in was assembled in only 3 weeks, 1 month approx. So huge difference of time. In this project, also we wanted to explore the way of sculpting renders, because it's definitely different than imagining concrete facade where you can do some lines, like here, like we always have to think about the water flow. We wanted to explore the sculpt of it without compromising the water flow. So we went with this vertical cut that are oriented through the south light. So the southern light goes through the apartment, and we kind of play with this thickness of the wall. Because that was also one of the question, like, if we start to use this material, like how we don't, because of the urgency and because of the rental, like the price is still high today, how we avoid to have all the same kind of building, and how we start to understand how to manipulate it. So that is one question that we are often asked, is how did we manage to build social housing with biomaterial? But the first thing is that I think it's very important to remind this first project, because I think we need people like this artist who really support this experimental, or not experimental, but this innovation in a way. And I think it's very important that to have people who have a good idea with good money. But so because of her, because of this project, because she allowed us to work with it, it opened gates, and it's reassured the promotes to have an example. Also in Paris, in France, we have this guarantee with public sector. The public sector have much more good press, let's say, because they are guarantee of quality and they support innovation. So they are helped sometimes with the government, and also when it's public, when it's social, it's one owner who stay the owner, so he's more is more interested in how the building will continue, how much will be the charges, like electricity, like heat and stuff. And the third one is something that I think it's very important. It's also because in Paris we have this new law, new local planning system, who is very ambitious regarding the ecological and the carbon footprint. So it's really good, and I'm sure I can feel that now promotes and stuff, they are all interested in it now because of those law. If we are not naive. I mean, we need this regulation to make a real move. So I think it's have to be political too. Je voulais dire quelque chose. Okay, and so this project we use some prefabricated blocks because of this time and this the budget too. So as you can see, all the blocks were very quickly posed. So we have this calpinage, this rhythm. So you can see we have like 6 type of different size of blocks. And some of them have this cut, some of them has, we also, here we have this huge cut, but also in all the corner we have like small cut. In this, it was the same in the first project to avoid the problematics of erosion with the wind in the corner. So here you can see the blocks who were dry during 3 months in a factory close to Lyon. So it was the first factory who did like prefabricated blocks. So that's why we use this earth and not a closer earth from Paris. So in this project, as you can see, we have smaller lintels only on top of the windows, because the lintel doesn't have this double function. Like here you can see this one, the first project that we saw earlier. So these big lintels were supporting the floors. Here, because of we don't have the same obligation in social, like you have to have a sun here, like a coffret with something to protect from the lights. So we needed space between the on top of the window and here. So it's, you have one metallic corner and one smaller lintels. And what you see here too is that here we had like this wooden pieces to fix the windows. Here we fixed the window directly in the earth. So here you can see the worker putting the blocks. So this company, they were their first time working with the earth, like almost every company right now. It's very hard to find a company who really knows about it. So we, for this project, the people who make the block come on site and help a little bit the company, tell them how to do it, etc. So it was actually very easy. It was really a same kind of way of putting like stone blocks, for example. But the difference was really about all the process, how you protect the block every time. Like you cannot put the block directly on the floor, like always protecting them, always. Here you can see it's a mix of cement and lime fixed between the blocks. I'm quite sure we could have avoided more cement here, but because it was the first, for one of the first highest building in it, like with the control office, they wanted to be a bit sure, and this elements create more flexibility. Here, so here you can see the detail with this wooden frame. And also, what is interesting in this project is that, I mean, here today, the regulation in France, we have to isolate the building. The same way that we have to isolate concrete buildings. So the regulations are still a bit slow regarding this arrival of this ancient material. So because after talking a lot with specialists in earth, I understood that earth have very good inertia property, but it's not very isolating. But by isolating too much, like here, you also cut completely the property of the earth, so it makes no sense really. So so it's we'll have to find like the good balance between keeping all the inertia and having still a small isolation, or keeping only the inertia. That's what we did in the first house, even though it's not allowed really by the law, but because it was private, we decided to do it anyway, and everything is very fine. Obviously, we still did it with bio-based material, like it's wooden fiber. Here you can see, but it's still like a bit of a shame to find. It's a bit heartbreaking to put some all these blocks on top of the wood, the facade. And here it's the first project where you can see that inside of the house you can really feel and enjoy the property of the earth. So yes, so you can see by this little example of the isolation how sometimes we can feel this this two temporality, like in a way we have this interests growing more and more for the bio and geo-based material, but in another way we have, of course, the law and the regulation who are a bit slow, and also the price is still expensive, but it's moving because of this new regulation and politics in Paris. But just sometimes, like when I ask always about the technicality or the locality of the earth, or I'm like, but the purpose is not only about replacing concrete, it's also about what does that mean to build in renders? What does that mean to live in renders? And how we question that? And we are not only, we are not engineer. I'm very glad to understand very well all the aspects of the material, but our role is also to be architects and have to find new paradigms around renders construction. So, for example, I found this. I like to make this parallel with when the concrete arrived. It really inspired a whole generation of architects of modernism to reinvent the way of living. Like, it was not just replacing materials, but really, what does this material means and how we live in it and what it provides, what is its quality, and what is, so it's really a new way of thinking architecture. And I think that's what I feel a little bit now, is that this way of talking about the materials is a little bit disconnected, as you said earlier, Daniel, with the real purpose of architecture too. So how we can go a bit deeper and what's regarding what means this materials. Oops, sorry. And what do we do for the future? What do we have in mind? What means to live today in the 21st century? Is it this kind of kitchen that we want, or this one? I don't know. but it's true that we also have this kind of okay, let's say so just to have this conclude, it's all this project was super. It was a real joy to work with those materials because it's really going back to the essence of architecture. And when I see students right now who really start to understand to learn architecture through this, I think it's really great because it's really how you work with the wind, how you work with the sun, how you work with the rain, and it's really interesting. But still, we are not only engineer, and how we go further. And also this materials, like we can feel that they have this huge potential of enhancing architecture practice. Of course, about the materiality, for sure, because we reduce the footprint, the carbon footprint, but also because regarding all the relationship that we have during the process, like with the craftsman, the engineer, and also the developer. So this is very full of joy, let's say, to have this opening window, but we also have to face some um, some contemporary numbers and situation. Is that today, like there is still 1.5% increases per year in cement production. So it means that we are not at all less build. We are not starting this. We are still building more and more and more, and still creating more and more concrete. And also we have this kind of schizophrenic society where we have this big return and interest of bio-based products, but also in the other way, this arrival of artificial intelligence. So why did I say that? It's just that we cannot only be like super. We have to open this craftsman process still to industrial process if we want to go a bit farther and quicker in a way of changing the material that we use and arriving to a kind of better footprint, carbon footprint. So what I really think about right now is how we can find this hybridation, but like the good one, like between craftsmanship and industrial process, because we don't want to go to industrial bad processes where it's only about the production, the rentability. I mean, we need these industrial processes, but still with the good, for the social and ecosystem values that are more with this bio-based material. I hope I'm clear, but it's really about finding this, and so I try to have this kind of the thing you have when you are lost in the forest, like I don't know, this tool, like a compass, where you try to find this balancing in a project where you still have a good craftsman and relation craftsmanship, and this balancing between craftsman and industrial process, and also this balancing between bio-based and geo-based material and reuse industrial material in the best way. Because here, like in urban context, it's really always about finding the good balance between industrial material, because we didn't work yet with reuse. I would love to, but it's not that easy. Oh, we used it, but for very small stuff. But in Paris and to go through buildings, you have to work with both. So how you arrive to work in the good amount of them in each project. And I think in a way it is this combination of hybridation and combination of things can create a really interesting writing of architecture, where we have this mix of industrial lost products, this mix of prefabricated stuff and artisan craftsmanship. I think that's it. I hope I was clear enough in my research part, but if you have a question or...
So really, thank you very much for your work and your presentation. It's just wanted to say it's fun. Yes, one feels that you have fun doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
This research and finding a way in not bit the unknown and get it through. That's a part of the pleasure. Why you do architecture and how we do architecture, and this one sees really in the projects. That's one thing, and the other thing is it's really interesting at the moment. I think it's an interesting moment to understand that, yeah, the languages are not already clear. It's a lot possible, and one always has to try. I think even
Yeah.
you have even quite an interesting story behind, because you intended to study ecological architecture. So both of you and your brother. So it was really the intention to come from an ecological side into this kind of thing.
Not really, because I mean,
No?
I not my brother. I don't think he did this path of architecture, but I did it. But at this time, nobody. I mean, I had like only one courses who was very about ecology, but at this time it was not that far away. But nobody really talked about this. Like, it was really, the subject was how you transform a building, like he can survive at time and programs. But we didn't talk about materials or stuff. But it's true that yeah, for my graduate, my diploma, I work a bit on render, but it was super theoretical and I didn't knew anything about it. But it's true that I try also to find a way to find a optimistical beauty of all the problems that we face too, because if not, I am I'm trying to find stuff.
But that's probably as well why you did your studies,
Mm-hmm.
and on the same time you did as well your carpenter. You learned to be a carpenter.
Yeah, but only 1 year, but yeah.
No, but I mean, it's just was exactly but what you explained as
Mhm.
well. This between the craftsman and the technology and the material. And if you're just sitting behind your computer on a drawing board, you never understand what really happens. And a lot
Mm.
of things you explained were you planned something, but you always needed to be at the building site, even to check and to analyze and to study and to see what happens. So it's
Mhm.
not really fixed what's possible and how that's the way you do it. You always need to check on the building site exactly
Mhm.
how it happens.
Yeah. For the first one, at least, but yeah, always. And attends, you said one thing, sorry,
Between craftsmanship and industrialization and the use of
yeah, yeah.
material.
But it's also why, I am also interested in that subject because we don't have much choice right now. Like if we want to massify these techniques, we need to go through prefabricated, and it's really nice practice prefabricated, because you can have super nice craftsmen who do it in a better space, and also who, I mean, it have advantage, but it's also scared me a little bit, like how much I will accept to industrialize totally those techniques, because it's also by going with the big industry, using artificial intelligence, robotics inside of the factories. I mean, I know we have to find a way to deal with it, but we have to change some stuff if we don't want to go through the exact same bad situation as we are now. Like how we still work with industry, but with analysis what's wrong with industry today, and try to create a new type of industry, a new scale of industry, who integrate more the ecosystem of a territory, and work more with the craftsman. Like it's not, and also have more social value, like people are well paid and not underpaid. So it's how we combine those two sectors to have like, not to say, okay, we go with big industrial and do the same way as we did the last century, but with new materials. So for me, it's like green um, bullshit. So yeah, how we.
Yeah, it's of course it's an unknown path, and this is
Mm,
on one hand it's scary,
mm,
of course. Your office is only 4 people, you just said at the beginning,
mhm,
and so it's not a big office, and you still
mhm,
do astonishing work. It's interesting where you are published as well.
mhm.
But that's one thing, and the other thing is really it's this unknown path. I think it's on one hand we need to find out how it works. On the other hand, we don't want to get into the trap of what we come from,
Mhm.
but still we should not create the existing industry as our enemy. So somehow
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
we need
exactly. And
to
we need them. We need to work together. That's the path I try to. We try to create, because I think it's kind of a new way, or adjust, or I don't know. But yes, yeah, yeah, of course. I think we need both. I mean, we have too much big problems to only work with in a marginal way. And I understood also by working how much radicality is not. Uh, it's good, but not too good either. If you really want to make a change, you have to understand also what's happened, and try to create, but with the 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 the, the society you have around you. I mean, yeah,
there are probably different level of research. So, for example, in Switzerland, we have probably you know this TerraBlock as a company who
yeah,
tries to work to develop certain elements and how
yeah,
to develop it.
but it's not only Earth, but yeah.
It's not only Earth,
No, they
uh,
put some
concrete in it
yeah, yeah, or yeah,
to fix it to
cement or
make it
lime, lots of lime.
cement.
I think, yeah.
At the moment, cement, but they try to shift
Mhm, mhm.
to lime and different kind of stuff. But what's interesting that they think it's important that we use this technology and don't make the enemy. And probably it's as well important that we have like technology specialists
Mm.
in a certain way from whom we can work.
Yeah, sure. Mhm.
Where you get your knowledge from, or there are people around Grenoble who know this, or is it try and error, not only probably?
No, I mean, it's just observation from our project. Like here we have, we are doing these prefabricated blocks, but then now we are working also with prefabricated raw earth, raw straw.
Mhm.
So that's why we are questioning all this. But to you said, oh, no.
The
You said
enemy
something I wanted to react to, again, but I still
between
forgot.
the technology, you have these firms who develop
Yes,
this.
no, I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything about TerraBlocks because I'm not sure of this firm, but I think it's an interesting subject too because I know for this part we are kind of purists because we made some tests, but also like in a we don't really believe in earth where they had cement in it because it's like just because you put approx 11% of cement in concrete and you put at least 7%, maybe a little bit less in a earthen wall, but the earthen wall is like 60 centimeters. So at the end, you only have a bad concrete wall who have more cement than concrete. So it's very important to to do it well anyway. I mean, do new
I think
because
it's
and also because of the the thing is that I think the bio-based material really um, carries them um this how can I say they are ecological by themselves, not only because of the material, but because it's local. Because you, for example, the best earth you can use is the local earth, because it's the more adapted to the climate and stuff. So if we start to like work with if there is like because we were approached once by horrible industrial and they wanted to have the magical powder who put in the earth, and we said like earth doesn't need this powder. It works very well by itself. And I think it's quite cool because it protects also the area, like not having one product that have the only one who have uh, how can you say uh, like a like a chart, you know what I mean, like they are the people who put it have the assurance only if they use this product and not artisanal product. So everyone go to the industrial product, but if it's a bad product but it's easier for everyone to use it, they will do it. So that's why I think it's cool that the bio-based material don't need addition in it to work. I mean, straw is amazing, really amazing. Uh, so they have good properties. So
No, I think it's completely right, and I even had discussions with them about this kind of percentages of the main problem you create if you mix it with concrete is that you can't reuse it anymore.
mhm.
It's out of the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, of course, yeah,
And
exactly.
so you
It's not like this
create
cradle to cradle. Yeah,
you
yeah, sure.
create you create the 60 centimeters of
Mm,
waste, or you just can
mm.
add it to something, but it's not
Yeah, yeah.
anymore. And it's interesting that the bio-based material, as you talk about it, you can demolish the house,
Mm,
reuse the same
mhm.
material, and build another house out of it.
And
And
grow
that's
some.
or grow something. Yeah, both is possible, but
Mhm,
it's not waste. It's
mhm,
something different. I think on one hand, it's important that we do these steps to be able to understand what we do, to test.
mhm,
That's why I like this. That's why I as well mentioned this. And on the other hand, I think it's just a step it's a step in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And at the end, we need to be there where you try to be. And then, of course, as you said, it's a bit the question of how to bring craftsmanship industry costs to a certain level where, let's say, a normal client thinks it's at least not completely out of the question. And that's an interesting, it's an important step we need to do. And it's sometimes amazing when you think what kind of material the normal industry builds in a house. It's so much waste, it's so much poison and lime and stuff in it. It's quite shocking when you really check a little bit what's on all these kind of different materials. And that's for sure not a path we can continue any further. Then it needs something to happen, even for us humans, not just for the footprint and everything, all this calculation thing, but it just affects you personally.
Yeah, sure.
What's interesting is that what is in your work as well, you try to use really material, and it's a certain like basic trust in the material. And when I remember when I did some projects, the industry is a complete mistrust in material. It can age, it's not the perfect thing, but I always say my grandmother always said, you don't need to fix the door. In spring, it's okay again.
Exactly. It's the way of understanding and yeah.
You don't need to overreact always with everything. So the material just moves a bit, just behaves, and it's just a basic trust. It's well done, craftsmanship, industry, and you can use this power to do a better project. It's not your enemy, it's your help to do something. And that's, I think, is interesting in the whole process. And what I think is it's 10, no, probably almost 15 years ago, Roger Bolzhauser was teaching in our faculty, and he did his first projects he has already done. He did the house for Martin Rauch there, which was quite experimental in a certain way. And what was as well interesting with him, and I see this as well in your projects, it's not just the fascination of the material and so on, but you really try to do architecture. So the aesthetics and the aesthetical part was quite an important thing. And this, to go to talk about Roger, that I think that he had this aesthetical power.
Yeah, true.
This made it quite present and important. And I see this thing as well in your work, and you don't,
especially the earth, because we don't work only with earth, we also work with straw and wood and stuff, but this doesn't, you don't see it, and that's why the earth have this kind of political aspect and very strong effect, because you can see it and you have this layers effect that's really really beautiful and stuff. Yeah.
and it's interesting that, and the house from Martin Rauch, we just visited with students 2 years ago. Was it 3 years ago, something like this? And it was quite interesting to see it. It's quite ruined in a modernistic perspective, because sometimes he was quite cutting edge and the water is flushing there, and then you get as well these problems. But with the earth, it's not the problem. You just can take some earth and you can fix this easily. Either you do it as you have done it, you avoid that the water is even is flushing there again. That's one thing. If you know how to do it, you can even just let it go, it stabilize itself in a certain way as well. And then you can always redo it. So there are
Yeah.
both possibilities. A certain trust in the material. It will not fall down.
Yeah, and it's also questioning this active habitant. Like you know your housing, you understand how it works, and you have this relation with your habitation, and yeah, you create more active habitant. Yeah.
One question, you worked at Foster, when I understood well, in London.
Yeah.
Why did you work at Foster, and what have you learned for your work now out of it?
I think Foster was kind of an experience. I think it was very good for detail and very good. But what I really loved about it, was the way of working. Like we were very big, like it's like 1,200 people in London. And but you have this quality of work, like you share the office with engineer, with landscaper, with designer, so you have this very easily facility to have like a meeting around a question. It's really exciting to work there, but very quickly also I was feeling a bit how can I say claustrophobic, not claustrophobic, but it's a very strange way of doing architecture. Like it's huge office, so they spread project all around the world with teams who nobody never goes on site, so they don't have this relation with and they don't care about the like social situation or political situation. I mean, I don't know. It's like a good project, but I am a bit pissed off Norman Foster because he did like an exhibition 1 year ago in Paris about him being a very ecological architect since a long time, and I think he have like a very good quality, but not this one. I mean, he could have. Well, he's more an engineer and yeah. I don't know if it was the question. Maybe I'm too okay.
Both. That's probably another thing to discuss. But
It's a bit disconnected from
what
the
I
sites.
think is interesting is that with this experience, learned quite a lot how, let's say, the industry, the machine really works. And what's interesting with the Norman Foster Foundation, with other projects, his own house in St. Moritz and so on, he often somehow triggers some elements. I wouldn't say really
That's true.
and that's interesting that he did this since, in Frankfurt, the tower with all this greenhouse thing.
Isn't it, you have this sort of an inventor that is really interesting. Yeah.
The sort of an inventor.
Yeah.
And it's just this I think is interesting, that you try to you have a machine, and of these 1,000 people, probably 30 do this kind of work we're talking now. And which is at the end a minimum thing, but probably for somebody it could be interesting. It's interesting to push a bit the office further, and yeah, it's a different kind of thing. In the same moment, Foster had the exhibition in Paris for his 90th birthday, and prestigious and so on. In the same moment, Zumthor, he had for his 80th birthday in Andelsbuch, in a place. He had his own show with some models. So it's completely a different type you address, and you try to expose yourself. Of course, Foster is now in a certain age, and I saw him half a year ago, and I thought he aged quite much. But that's one thing. So but I think it's interesting. You can learn in this, and he's always with the foundation and so on. He's still triggering these kind of sites, probably in a different way. It's probably the way of an older generation, but he knows how to handle the industry, and we can learn at least a little bit how to what could be interesting. But that's probably just one thing. Of course, this easiness that you have so much knowledge in the office that can help, but probably the people you work with did not work in such an office. It's a completely different kind of working you're doing at the moment. It's more people to people and person to person to bring this thing together. And this, I think, is creates as well a super important idea of what you do. And what you said as well, I think is super interesting and super important. Be connected with the site where you are.
Yeah,
And
sure.
if you don't have this interest, it gets a bit strange.
Of course.
And in terms of material, in terms of craftsmanship, and I think there's probably no profession which is so close tied to a certain location as architecture. It doesn't make sense to produce something in China and to produce to bring it over here. It's really so much based, and what happens today is that you really think of how you can use the local material, the local people, the local knowledge, and then probably detail in Paris different from what you do in Italy, in southern Italy, because
And
the
the
climate.
local and the local financial balance too. I mean, yeah.
Which is as well a potential, or it could be a potential that you
Yeah, exactly.
can use in probably southern Italy the workforce of the local people. And in Paris, it doesn't make sense, and you need to find an industry doing the whole thing for you. And you said, Paul, you use the production firm in Lyon to produce your rammed earth blocks. Is there just one in France who's doing it, or how is it organized?
For example, for now, I think yes, and it was their first project, so it was the first project from them. But I know that these techniques can be probably developed, but by craftsmanship themselves. Like for example, the first craftsman we worked with for the first project, he said, "I can do it. I can rent like a closed space and do some prefabricated blocks." But this firm, Theriot, who was their first project, it was the only one also who answered to the public competition.
No, even here we have on one hand we have the chance, and the Vorarlberg is quite close, so we have Martin Rauch and the people around, so quite a lot of people are educated.
You have a huge factory of prefabricated blocks.
Exactly with the same problems.
Probably the most developed in the world, huh? I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing what he's doing, where he started and how it's developing. But nevertheless, it's sometimes you need these people who do something completely out of the box for himself with probably some people, and now there are 100 people working somehow in the whole thing. So it's something needs to happen and is happening. And what I heard that Paris is really pushing in that direction. Can you explain a little bit how they are pushing and how do it's everything shifting to wood, or what's the reaction?
Yeah, well, I don't know how to go into all the regulation, of course, but
No,
no, but yeah, it's moving in a way that, but it's also a complicated area right now because we have the law pushing to reduce the carbon footprint, so use all different type of material, but not concrete. And in another way, those materials are still expensive. So it's like it's kind of creating more low project because like promotes cannot find, but more and more we have projects like this, more the more it's becoming affordable. So it's nice, and finally promotes and developers, and they still find. So we are still moving on. So it's good because of this regulation pushing. Voilà, we use more and more wood, and yeah. But it's especially in Paris. I mean, it's really a small regulation for Paris.
another thing which I didn't understood or was irritating me, you said you would have liked to use the material they digged out when they built the metro lines, the new ones.
Yeah.
I thought this material was used up to now for other projects, or was it still not possible? It's a question, I don't know. I thought they were already using it.
But I'm not sure because there were great factory in the north of Paris who were treating the local earth, but it closed last year. And I know that they wanted to create the rain from the earth with the good balance that you can use for construction, but they closed, so we are a bit sad. And I know that they were supposed to have like a big district in Ivry-sur-Seine, like Grand Paris, who was supposed to build with this material, but I don't know where is it. I'm not sure it's still going on. So I don't know. Maybe it was used, but I didn't heard about it yet.
No, but you're closer than me, so it's more.
Yeah,
I hear just rumors about
I
rumors.
think
So,
it's still not used, but I don't.
so which means the idea was to use the material, and they just assembled a huge pile of building material, but they don't know still what really to do
Mm-hmm. But all
because
the earths that they crave
they
from the
craved
earth,
out
they craved out.
is now stocked somewhere.
I don't know. I need to. I don't know exactly. I
Yeah,
know
but
that there is a platform who, take the earth and unpollute it, and make some tests and stuff. But I'm not sure if they took the one from the metro. I know also that a lot of the earth of this craving earth is used to create, some little stop on the side of the autoroutes, autobahn.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Of the
Uh,
motorway
yeah, but
to to do construction as a
I think
fundamental, or
so. I
just
think,
to do the insulation thing on the side,
yeah, insulation. I think they use it for this, but I'm not sure.
which is
Yeah.
what I mean with this. It's just the opposite of construction material.
Yeah, true. But because also maybe I mean, I know that the earth in Paris, I don't know if it's a really good earth because it needs a lot of process like unpollute and stuff. And so
Um,
I don't know. I don't know. I will study this this French, Parisian earth. What's going on now?
no, I think what's quite interesting is that Paris often I make the experience that in big cities these innovations are not possible. And what I understood now is that even Paris, by law, tries to force these innovations, which I think is a super, that they're very much ahead to a lot of, to most of the areas in Europe. Of course, it's
Mhm.
quite a difficult path because it's very
Of
much
course.
based on experiments, on uncertainty in a certain way. On the other hand, when I see what happened with cycling, with the shift in how you move in Paris, it's astonishing what happened
Mm.
because other
Slowly by
cities.
slowly.
Hmm? Well,
Slowly by slowly.
slowly by
Like,
slowly, but you're
mm, mm,
you went more far than we are, and we discussed since 30 years about these kind of things, and it's very slowly developing. No, I think it's quite important that you have this legislation in the background to tries to push the
yeah,
industry
for sure, for sure.
doesn't like so much to
Mm,
do this shift. They
mm,
would love to produce as they always did. But nevertheless, we can't always just throw away so much material.
mm, mm,
We need to find a solution.
mm.
And
Uh, yeah, I mean the biggest part is the reuse, huh? The reuse is much more interesting than all other geo-based material, at least. But yes. Mm.
yeah, but the earth is one part because you dig.
Yeah, but it's still not growing up again. I mean, I
Yeah,
know we have a lot, but we thought we have a lot of sand, and now we see the devastation of some beach where there are like sand mafias and stuff. So
yeah, these are the side problems.
mm,
Nevertheless, I think it's important to have
mm.
this shift and to
Yeah,
try
yeah, sure.
and even by government to try that it's something happening because it will not happen without any push in any direction. And that's
Mm,
why it's so important to have
mm.
this a certain
Yeah.
power pushing. And no investor, nothing, nobody will really do this. So there are quite a lot of smaller offices like you in Paris doing this kind of research or this work.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I think every office try to go through these materials. Lots of young office. Um, the more difficult part is to find the first client who agreed to work with it, and then. But yeah, now also I don't know how it works in Switzerland, but more and more the competition ask to have two teams together, like an older team of architect and a younger office, and um, and I think this way it's nice to to make this to start to put this energy in bigger project too.
Mhm. It's not
Mhm.
just the small projects, it's even the bigger projects which
Mhm.
shifting
Mm.
and to transfer knowledge
Yeah,
in both
exactly.
sides, in both
Yeah,
ways.
exactly.
I think that's the most important
Mm.
because it's of course the smaller projects are super cool to develop something and to understand. And yeah, we talked a lot about earth, but yeah, it's straw, it's other products, and older generations are quite afraid of it.
Mhm.
And I remember,
Afraid, afraid and a bit stuck in their references and clients who don't want to.
and
That,
clients, I remember in the 90s discussions at Merkli, is a skyscraper in wood possible? Whether wood is visible or not in the urban context.
Mhm.
Today it is, or it's no question anymore.
Well, sorry, what did you say?
A
Sorry, I
skys,
was.
you know, a skyscraper, if a wooden facade in an urban context,
Yeah,
is this
do we?
possible? Is this possible or not? In the 90s, when I studied, this was a huge discussion. And today it's not normal, but it's a possibility you can do. And I mean, just these 30 years of development changed the architecture in a certain way, that these kind of questions, which were out of the box completely, are quite normal. So even other projects will move in this direction. What you probably are thinking of, rammed earth, even in straw and other materials, which are completely forgotten. Like we discussed we discussed in a lot of wooden shingles on a roof were quite normal in a certain period, or even straw roofs or reed roofs. They all disappeared probably by fire regulations, but still they were quite normal, and probably they are even coming. They're even coming back.
Yeah.
And
But they also disappear because of industrial era, where we learn a lot. But it's true that sometimes, like, what you built with earth, but like, and we forgot that before concrete and metal, we used earth, stone, wood, and that's it, huh? And straw, and so yeah, it was not that long ago, but we forgot.
Yeah. We forgot, but yeah, and the industry pushed probably out, but that's a bit a different kind of thing. But I think this process needs a lot of effort, and it's important to keep this effort and this exchange. I think it's not it's very important as well that sometimes if one just thinks about his own stuff, the problems you have in Paris are probably the same we have here in Tallinn, in Kur and so on. These are the same problems. You need probably different solutions. You have different people in the background. And I think that's important to deal with these kind of things. And I think that's this exchange is very important, of knowledge, of people, and that otherwise you feel quite isolated from the exterior. And I think it's quite a general thing, and one can learn quite a lot. And yeah, and that's the interesting part. Of course, when you don't have, for example, very simple questions. We have this beam, and there is no condensation there around in the earth, in the atelier. This metal beam keeping the whole thing.
I mean, I'm not sure it's very super useful, but it was. I mean, it's a little bit like for the last part, don't go this way. But yeah. What did you say? What did you say about it?
No, there's no condensation that it's so cold that water is there around. Or with the material, you have this possibility that you can do different things which you would not have been able to do if it would be just wood, then you have this condensation problem. But if it's rammed earth, you have different. The earth is reacting different, and that's an interesting thing, that you need to test these limits.
Yeah, sure.
And in one hand, you need to test it. You can do these tests in small bits, but the most important is at the end. You need to do it in a building, and then you learn very much what happens. And then you probably need to react as well, as you did, but less and less. Yeah. Very good. Any questions from students? Obviously not.
Yeah. But thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really super interesting to do this exchange and to understand what's happening there, because it's yeah, it's not just yeah, let's say we are very much marked a bit by Boltzhauser and these kind of people, but there are other people who do similar research in a different direction, and that's super interesting. And good luck with challenging it. I think it's important to do this, and I think it's important to do this as well. That yeah, some friends of mine they shifted into wood architecture exactly that way, because they were not interested to do this normal industrial production. It was the chance for them to do something different and a more aesthetical, artistical research kind of a thing of architecture. And you do the similar thing, this ecological architecture, that is pushing the limits, and it's super important to do this. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a
Like
nice
a day.
evening.
Yeah. See you soon, maybe.
See you soon. Yes, of course.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.